Hello, future RCICs. So if you are a graduate of an immigration practitioner diploma program from maybe last year or the year before, there are, of course, a lot of changes that have happened to our beloved ICCRC. So the ICCRC has obviously transitioned to becoming the college. Now, how does this affect your exam? Well, we're going to discuss some of these elements today. So what we will really discuss here is, of course, your timeline. How does your timeline work now that, of course, we have a new regulatory body? All right, so the first question, of course, was right on the first slide here. And the question was what maybe a lot of you have as a question, which is, can you still take the EPE, even though the educational standards and educational program is now different? And the answer is a very enthusiastic yes, just like the person in this picture. Now, for a lot of you, on my side, I mean, I love it when you are a graduate who graduated recently and then you come to us to do the exam preparation. But even if you're a graduate from a year ago or 2 years ago, I totally understand. I know life gets in the way, things get busy, especially with these last couple of crazy years. But if you are unsure about whether or not you can accomplish your goal of passing the EPE, well, there are a lot of positives for people in your situation. Now, number one is you are still enthusiastic, you're still hardworking, and you're still reaching your goals. So I love that. You should be very proud of yourself for being interested and I think still motivated, really, to become an RCIC. So good for you. You still have a solid foundation of immigration knowledge to work with. So in your immigration practitioner diploma program, you would have covered a lot of the topics that, of course, play a role on the exam. And that knowledge doesn't really go away. I mean, some of the foundational aspects, you'll probably have those forever, right? So maybe you don't remember some details. Maybe you need kind of a quick refresher course, and that's perfect. That's what we do. So if you have been keeping up with immigration changes, you are, again, on a very positive note to reach your goal of passing the EPE. And maybe the most positive news is that we're still here to help you, of course. So, of course, we love helping our clients reach their EPE goals, regardless of if you're a recent graduate from Queen's University or Université de Montréal for the new program, or if you are an IPP graduate from a year ago or 2 years ago. Our system works, and of course, we are still here to help. Now, for you IPP graduates, you do have some additional challenges. And it's hard work, but of course, I think you can do it. So number one is your timeline. If you graduated, of course, 3 years, or I guess more than 3 years before your exam date, you're going to have an issue. So make sure that your graduation from your IPP was less than 3 years from your exam date. Of course, your language exam score as well needs to be from, of course, less than 2 years before your upcoming exam date. So it's just an extra kind of timeline you need to think of if you're an IPP graduate, that people who graduated from or will graduate from the Queen's program, the GDP, will not need to really think of. For a lot of you, you may have lost some of that knowledge that you gained in your course. Maybe you don't work in immigration, or maybe you had areas that you just weren't too interested in. That's perfectly fine as well. That's exactly what the refresher courses would do. There are always immigration updates. And if you've been concentrating on work and family and trying to survive this COVID world and things like that, you might not keep up with every immigration change, or maybe even most of the changes. That's perfectly fine as well. Of course, we make sure to kind of update you on everything. And the exam itself has changed. So we talk about this a lot actually during the seminar, the changes that are likely to be implemented. And now that, of course, we're under the college. So a timeline for you then is here. So it all starts with you choosing an exam date. So here are the dates for 2022 and the first one for 2023. Now, when you are choosing an exam date, you have a lot of things to consider. Two big questions that come up are here. So number one, can you make time to prepare? It's the demographic for people taking the exam, in my experience anyways, is usually kind of similar to me, actually, where you're a working adult. A lot of you have a full-time job. You might have kids and family and things like that, and you're juggling a lot of things right now. So, or not right now, I mean all the time probably, really. So just to give you a quick idea of the amount of time investment that you should consider putting into exam preparation, I would say around here. Now, this is just a general number. For some of you, it's going to be 200 hours. For some other people, it might be 50 hours. But just to have an idea of your time investment, you're looking at between 60 and 100 hours of preparation. Now, it also depends on how you are preparing, if you actually can really concentrate on your preparation as well, right? So having a book open or going through a lesson, but having the TV on and having, while painting the house or something like that, it's not exactly, I mean, it is something, right? It is better than nothing, but it's not exactly concentrated studies. So it is something to think about. You might want to even split this down into 3-hour sessions and check out your calendar. See if you can do this. 3 hours over 33 days. Now, the next question for you to see really is if you can prepare accurately, right? So it's one thing to spend a lot of time studying, but guided study is really the key. And of course, that's where we are. That's what we do for you. So in thinking of the future after the exam, it's amazing to visualize the future, think of what's going to happen after the exam. That helps you, of course, in those days or months, I guess, leading up to the exam itself. So you're going to choose an exam date. You're going to take the exam on that date. After, you're going to get your results. Now, during the wait time for those results, you're going to be maybe like this guy. You're going to be hoping and waiting for those results. I know I was in the same position as you when I took the exam. And then you get that good news, and you go celebrate a bit. Then you apply for your license to the CICC within 120 days after you receive the email notifying you that you passed the exam. Now, I've got a tip for you here. So we're going to start with the future, then we'll work towards the past to bring you to this future, I guess. So while you're waiting for those exam results, and even after you get those results and you put together your application to the CICC so you can get your registration, there's quite some time involved, right? So it might be 3 months, it might be 6 months from the time you take the exam until you actually get that license number. So during this time, it's a really good idea to start setting up your business. Now, obviously, you can't advertise you're an RCIC, you can't take on clients until you have that registration number, until you're fully registered, of course. But you can do some things to make sure that once you have that number, you can hit the ground running, get moving right away. So you can organize maybe your website, maybe organize your logo. You know, obviously with the website, don't make it public. Organize your business plan, things like that, right? So that you're not really stagnant during this wait time. Although, obviously, be sure to take a well-deserved break after your exam. Now, in preparing for the exam, I would even call this actually in preparing to register for the exam, you need to ask yourself quite a few questions here. So if you say yes to all of these, perfect. You probably qualify to write the exam still, even if it has been some time between graduation and, of course, now. So we have those timelines that we talked about before regarding your graduation date, your language exam date, being a citizen or permanent resident or registered Indian is, of course, still mandatory. the ethical requirements. So if you've been consulting illegally, if you've been doing unethical things, you won't qualify to, of course, write the exam and become an RCIC. And of course, for exam attempts. Now, I don't really know anybody who has failed the exam 4 times. We've had people come to us who took the exam 3 times, and then they finally come to us and they passed that 4th time. But there is a maximum of 4 attempts for the EPE. If you don't pass within those 4 attempts, you have to redo your diploma. So once you choose your exam date, once you're sure that you qualify to register for the exam, these are the dates to think of before the exam. So you have your 90-day cutoff. Now this simply means that new immigration changes implemented within 90 days of your exam will not play a role on the exam. So this is pretty good news because there's always immigration changes, and you don't want to be there the day before the exam, something changes. It would be pretty stressful, right? So you don't want to be in that position. Of course, we update all of our material every 90 days as well to reflect immigration changes, to reflect better preparation for the exam. You do have, of course, your application submission deadline. Now, in my experience, the ICCRC, the CICC, is very strict with this. So it's just like an immigration application, right? Don't wait until the deadline. Do this as early as you can. Of course, we have our EPE seminars generally about 3 weeks before the exam to help you refine your studies, help you move towards that goal. So when you show up to the exam on February 25th or May 2nd or whenever you're going to take the exam, well, you're ready to rock. All right, everybody. So thank you so much for going through this quick little video with me. I hope this clarified timelines as they pertain to your goal of becoming an RCIC, of course, in this brave new world of the CICC. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the work you're doing in reaching your goals, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.